Give it 1 second, make sure that people actually see us. I check on my phone. Yes, we are live. Hi, everyone. My name is Allison. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the executive director of the Gallatin County Democrats. We're here for a quick update on what happened yesterday in the Montana Legislature, and Representative Jim Hamilton is going to share the latest out of the Rules Committee decision-making process and where we go from here. So thank you, Jim, for taking a few minutes out of your day. I know you've got a lot of Zooms. We really appreciate the update. So what happened yesterday in the Rules Committee?
Well, thanks for hosting this, Allison. First of all, what happened in the Rules Committee was basically the Democrats put forward 3 proposals, which is really the same we did last week. The 3 proposals were, number one, let's make this an all-remote session. And this is after we heard significant public testimony. I think there were about 20 people that testified. 19 of the 20 said, keep it remote. Our first proposal was to make it remote. Second proposal, after that one was defeated, was to say, okay, if we can't be remote, we'll come in, we'll do the oath on January 4th, and then we'll leave until everybody's been vaccinated or close enough. Mm-hmm. When that one was defeated, we said, okay, then the other option is that we abide by CDC healthcare guidelines, health policy guidelines, including masking, distancing, hand washing, testing, and that failed. And then we did a little bit, a few other ones that were very narrow in scope, like a testing program, for example, that you would, if you went away for the weekend, you would be testing, well, everybody's going to go away for the weekend, but you go away for the weekend. When you come back, you test as you enter the building with a quick test. Positive, you return to your home quarantine, wait for another full-blown test. And that was defeated. So really any of the health measures that we proposed were defeated. And it came down to basically one bill they wanted to pass, they being the Republicans. They have the numbers on the committee. There's on the total committee, joint rules, there's, I believe, 34 or 35 members, and they have it 21-13. So the one rule that passed created a panel. They called it a COVID response panel. I call it something else, which I'll be polite and not say today. But that panel is made up of 6 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and they're supposed to make non-political decisions about everything COVID. The committee can't meet until, the panel can't meet until the first day of session. So basically they're doing no preparation and planning over the next 19 days. They would disagree with that and say, oh, we're meeting and we're talking, but they have no authority. And in fact, a little inside baseball, they really actually have no authority to create this panel either, but it's clearly against legislative rules.
Wow.
So that's kind of the story of what happened. And so we will go to Helen, it appears, on January 4th, swear in. It does appear at this point that the rules as amended allow us to do remote voting, second readings, in committee readings, and even on third reading, which is on the House floor. So there is the option for those of us who choose to be remote, but there will be people in the Capitol. My guess will be close to 65 Republicans on the House side and probably 25 Republicans on the Senate side, plus a smattering of Democrats and the public and lobbyists and so forth. It's not going to be a healthy arrangement.
Right. And even with that arrangement, in many ways, and I think that Senator Pat Flowers talked about this last week during our conversation, is that when you have some people, some legislators meeting in person there at the Capitol, while others are virtual, when you have that mix, there is a disadvantage in a way to the people who are doing it remotely for the safety and well-being of everyone in the state of Montana, but yet you can't, build relationships as easily or have side conversations with, other legislators to come to agreements and this kind of stuff. So while I'm glad that you can, like, at least at this stage, participate remotely, that does feel like, in a way, this also disenfranchises Montanans whose representatives are making the smart decision, but maybe not be able to be 100% effective because of that. Is that fair to
I think
say?
you did a good job of summarizing that.
Yeah.
That is likely to be the case. There will not be equity, and we'll see how committees go when you have a mixture. When it was all on Zoom in the interim, it actually worked quite well. I felt like it was an even playing field.
Right.
But this won't be an even playing field.
Right.
Maybe the even more important issue is that we also worked on was part of the rules now will be that the committees may allow, is that the way that word was worded? We fought back and forth about this, but I believe it's may be allowed to, or may have the ability to testify verbally or orally over a recorded media, is basically what we were trying to get in, is that the public could be assured that they would have the opportunity to testify remotely.
Okay.
And it came out as they may have the ability. Controllable for theoretically personnel or technological matters, but it leads to the opportunity for abuse. And so I'm a little concerned about that piece.
Sure, that makes sense. I mean, the irony of irony is, well, there's so many ironies with this, but the irony is that you all met remotely on Zoom yesterday to make this decision, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Although there were 4 or 5 people that actually showed up in person, which was an
Oh,
odd.
oh, okay. So the Joint Rules Committee have voted. We're going to have a reactive COVID response panel that heavily leans towards the majority. So the session will be called, like, it will start on January 4th
Yes.
in person in Helena.
We think so. There is nothing in law or in rules or in the Constitution that says the oath has to be administered in person. It actually could have been done all remotely. And we offered another amendment to do that, and they wouldn't even do that. That was voted down. So at this point, it does look like it will be in person. Okay. The oath will be administered. The old rules immediately fall away, and there will probably be a movement to adopt these new rules immediately. Okay. So these were passed out of the Rules Committee, but the full Senate and House have to vote on them. Okay. And I think that'll be an interesting look at it, because there is a great deal of speculation that by sort of both sides, that they each have the votes to either pass or not pass the rules in the House. Okay. There's a coalition of moderate Republicans, and the Democrats are opposed to these rules, and as they stand at the moment. And so that's one group that thinks they have the votes, and the conservative Republicans think they have the votes to pass the rules. Okay. We'll see.
So, as always, my last question is there anything that we as the public, as constituents, can do between now and then? Like, is there certain representatives that maybe we should reach out to and say, like, we basically, all the public testimony that's been happening in the last couple of weeks for the joint rules, shift that to specific individuals, like specific legislators now, that maybe we can build off some of that hesitation from the moderate Republicans, maybe?
I think those are the ones that need to be contacted. And, some of those folks are sort of loosely attached to Billings or to Great Falls, or maybe to down in Dillon, for example.
Okay.
So that's a possibility. The other thing that I want to veer off the joint rules for just a minute, and that is to say the House rules we thought were a done deal, but now they've backed off because they're having negotiations, they being the moderate and conservative Republicans. And they have stated their desire, their preference, to eliminate the committee chair is king amendment. So we thought that was a positive. There's a couple of other small ones that may be introduced again next week. And there may be other amendments that come from their further negotiations. So House rules, which we thought were sort of a done deal, are not a done deal. And the House Rules Committee will meet again next Tuesday, I guess it is, the 22nd.
Okay.
And so there's another leverage point. I think anybody on the Republican side of the House Rules Committee is worth being in touch with.
Okay. All right. Well, good to know. So we have some ideas on what we can do, especially next week with the House. And then, if anyone's listening or watches this who lives in Billings or Great Falls or Dillon, perhaps reach out to your House Republican legislators to talk to them about a remote or delayed session, or at the very least, precautions for COVID, such as wearing masks, temperature checks when entering the building, social distancing, the common sense things that we've all come to recognize as being helpful in preventing and slowing the spread of COVID-19. So we'll work on that. Is there anything else that we should be aware of, Jim?
So last thing on that House rules. So the House rules will hopefully finish up next Tuesday. And then that will be the resolution that will be sent to the full House to be voted on, likely near the first day of the session. It may not happen first day, but it's likely to be close to that.
Okay.
So I suppose the real pressure on those moderate Republicans comes between the rules being adopted next week and the House starting January 4th.
Okay. All right. We have our timeline. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to try and keep these things short moving forward, just so we can get information out more quickly and more digestible. But if you have questions for Representative Hamilton or any of our other legislators, feel free to reach out to us or to them. The contact information we'll provide on our website. But stay engaged, everyone. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Happy holidays, Allison.
Happy holidays, Jim.